Hi there, my name is Bheki Zungu. Let me take this opportunity and introduce my new book. My new book is titled You Too Can Rise Again. So I just want to read something from the preamble. Just a portion there from the preamble to the book. When this book was first published in 2010, it was titled Don't Be Afraid to Fail. By the time I started revising this current edition in 2023, I had already written and published 4 other books, which was the realization of my dream of becoming an author. I had also translated 2 of those books into isiZulu so that my late mother, who could not read or speak English, would also be able to read my books. The birth of the first book happened at the time when I had taken a very bold step of pursuing my other dream of running my own business, something I always wanted to do from my university days. That was the personal vision and strategy I had started my working life with: to get a university education and professional qualifications, work for a few companies to gain work experience, and then start my own business. This was necessitated by a strong desire to attain the flexibility and financial freedom to give back to our previously disadvantaged communities. It was in 2009 when my entrepreneurship dream became a reality. That is when I left what some would consider a comfortable senior management job at a big telecommunications company to start my own consulting business. By then, I had already worked for a few other companies, including a startup consulting firm founded by an old university friend. Launching my own business at the time that I did was a very big step, given the timing, middle of the recession. When my dream did not take off as planned, I had nothing else but stubborn faith to sustain my enthusiasm amid fear that started creeping in, threatening to throw me into despair and hopelessness. There were times when I had to fight off a small voice that would occasionally ask, "What were you thinking?" I had worked in big corporate offices with access to all sorts of resources and had no worries about where the revenue was going to come from. Then I found myself sitting alone at my new work address, the Mabedlana Group Consulting office at number 9 Twickenham Complex, Little Falls in Rotherport. As the only full-time employee of the business, with not much income coming through, I decided to do something more productive with my time. Rather than sit in my office feeling sorry for myself, I decided to use my free time to document my life story as it had unfolded until then. I already had much to share about my life journey. And that is how this book was born. I was 36 years old, married with a 3-year-old daughter. I had already worked for 9 companies which operated in different industries, and I had occupied different positions with some level of influence. The jobs that I had done until then had also given me opportunities to interact with people from different cultures as I traveled extensively across South Africa. The other motivation for writing the book, I must admit, came from an uncomfortable position. It was the concern I had that if I were to die at that time, those who knew me would be left wondering what had motivated me to take such a big risk of leaving what was a very good job and a stable career to start my own business, and in the process risk the comfort of my young family. So I thought it was a good idea to use my free time to explain where the appetite for something as uncertain as an entrepreneurship came from. Later in the book, where I speak more about my growing up, you will gain more insight into how spending time at my maternal grandfather's small holding in the village planted the seed of entrepreneurship in me. This small holding was called Mpoqa, short for Mpoqa, meaning the one who forces to be a white man. At Mpoqa, my grandfather had a big orchard where he also planted various seasonal crops. Me and my cousins would help out for a few cents and get access to the fruits, whilst observing my grandfather walk proudly through his plantations as if he was talking to them. There were 3 other men in the village who stood out as agripreneurs like my grandfather, albeit on a somewhat smaller but sustainable scale. My mother took after my grandfather. As a result, I grew up working hard in her multiple vegetable gardens and also sold vegetables door to door, which I hated. I guess it was those experiences that caused me to become more creative. By the time I was in high school, I had bought a small camera using the pocket money I had saved, and that created another source of additional pocket money for me. Our village did not have big shopping centers, but there were local businessmen who had established general dealerships that supplied basic goods and services. As a young boy, I drew inspiration from the founders of those businesses because what they had established at that time was something out of this world by our village standards. For instance, 2 of those men, one of whom a former teacher, established supermarkets which offered shoppers the convenience of picking their purchases from the aisles.